Hi grade 10 students, this is Teacher Lester aka Zer Les, and I welcome you all to another fun and meaningful learning. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for you to be updated of new uploaded videos like this kind of video. So, what are you waiting for? Let's get this discussion started. This topic is actually discussed in the fourth quarter of your module, and our topic for today is all about 20th and 21st century multimedia forms. And for us to be guided with our discussion for today, let us take a look at these objectives or the learning competencies that you have to consider for us to have a target on our lesson. The learner describes how an idea or story in a musical play is presented in a live performance or video. Explains how theatrical elements in a selected part of a musical play are combined with music and media to achieve certain effects, and creates or improvises appropriate sounds, music, gestures, movements, and costumes using media and technology for a select part of a musical play. For today's topic, we will be dealing with three multimedia forms, which are opera in the Philippines, ballet in the Philippines, and the musical play in the Philippines. And now class, let us first discuss about the opera in the Philippines. In the 19th century, Filipino opera emerged in the Philippines when foreign performers, including instrumental virtuosi. When we speak of virtuosi, this is the genius or excellent way of playing an instrument, as well as opera singers and Spanish zarzuela performers came to the country to perform for enthusiastic audiences. To understand what opera is, here are some of the definitions. It is an art and music form in which singers and musicians perform a dramatic work combining text, called a libretto, and a musical score. It is accompanied by an orchestra or smaller musical ensemble, and the dialogue is entirely sung and not spoken. So those are the things that we have to consider when we speak of an opera. Now, what do you think are the local theaters and early Philippine operas? First to focus on are the local theaters. First one is Zorilla Theater. Second one is Principe Alfonso Theater. Third one is Variedades Theater. Fourth one is Quiapo Theater. Fifth one is Tondo Theater. Sixth one is Manila Grand Opera House. And seventh one is Metropolitan Theater. The first picture shows the Zorilla Theater, which were popular from the year 1817 to 1893. The second picture shows Principe Alfonso Theater, which were popular from 1862 to 1876. We also have the Variedades Theater, which were popular in the year 1847. And of course, we also have the Quiapo Theaters times theater as indicated here. And I apologize for failing to show you the Tondo Theater, which was popular in the year 1841. But we have here the Manila Grand Opera House, which was popular in the mid-19th century. And we also have Metropolitan Theater in the year 1931. You can search, by the way, Tondo Theater in the Google. And I also want to emphasize an early Philippine opera, which was called Sandugong Panaginip. This opera was composed by Ladislao Bonus, or also known as the father of Philippine opera. Said to be the first Filipino opera by Pedro Paterno, a poet, novelist, musician, and government official. This opera was first presented at the Zorilla Theater on August 2, 1902, and it was later translated by the Englishman M.W. Loving with the title The Dreamed Alliance. So here are the casts or the singers of the said opera. I also want to emphasize about Bonifacio Abdon, who was the first Filipino opera conductor. We also have Dr. Ramon here as one of the opera composers, and he was the first Filipino impresario who promoted local talents to participate in foreign productions. We also have Patricio Mariano, who wrote The Lacambini that was first staged at the Metropolitan Theater in December 19, 1933. And here are the popular singers. We have the first one, Nelia Manalo, as Violeta in La Traviata, Mercedes Matias Santiago as Lucia in Lucia de la Memoire, and we also have Jovita Fuentes as Mimi in La Boheme. I'd like to emphasize as well the Cultural Center of the Philippines. So what is this? It is actually a building which was established by then First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos in 1969, paved the way for other Filipino operas to be staged at a legitimate venue of international standard. And let us take a look at this another composer who was named Felipe Padilla de Leon. He composed Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. He presented at the CCP Main Theater in 1970 and 1975. Aside from considering the famous Filipino opera composers, we also have the famous Filipino operas, which are their compositions actually. The first one is La Loba Negra, and I think in English it is translated as The Black She-Wolf, a 3-act Filipino opera. The music was composed by Francisco Feliciano with libretto by soprano Fides Cuyugan Asensio. Another one is the Noli Me Tangere, the 3-act opera composed by national artist Felipe Padilla de Leon with libretto by national artist Guillermo Tolentino. It premiered in 1957 at the FEU Auditorium. Another one is El Filibusterismo, and it was actually written 4 years after the Noli Me Tangere. It was in 3 acts and written in Tagalog with libretto by Anthony Morley. It tells of the continuing struggle of the Filipinos to achieve freedom and emancipation from Spanish colonial rule. And of course, we will also consider ballet in the Philippines. So we're done with the opera in the Philippines. Next is, as I have said, we have the ballet in the Philippines. The Filipino ballet presents folktales based on local fables and epics from neighboring regions. The first one is the Lola Basha. It is a ballet adaptation of Severino Reyes' folktales Mga Kwento ni Lola Basha. It was meant to instill and rekindle the interest of the Filipino youth in the beauty, richness, and heritage of Philippine literature. Aside from Lola Bashang, we also have Rama Hari. It was translated as King Rama, is the Philippine adaptation of the Indian epic Ramayana set to music, dance, and drama. And that's all for ballet in the Philippines. Not so rich in ballet, the Philippines, but at least we were able to produce such famous ballets here in our country. And now let us proceed to musical plays in the Philippines. In the Philippines, the musical play rely mostly on adaptations from novels, literary works, or biographical sketches of famous artists. When we speak of musical play, it is a lighter form than the opera. Themes are usually contemporary, acting is less intense and dramatic. We have here a genre of musical play which is called Broadway musicals. We have here a popular product of Broadway musical called Showboat. It was the first Broadway musical which featured the popular mode of transport in the American frontier. There are other themes, just like Chamis royalty in The King and I, English aristocracy in My Fair Lady, Austrian history in The Sound of Music, medieval English tragedy in Camelot, and also we have interracial gang rivalry and romance in West Side Story. We have Andres Bonifacio, Ang Dakilang Anak Pawis, another musical play in the Philippines. It is actually a 5-act work commissioned by Alfonso Puyat in 1979, depicting the life of revolutionary hero Andres Bonifacio. The music was by Jerry Dadap. We also have Atang, Dulang My Musical. It is a musical based on the life of the first superstar of the Philippines, Atang de la Rama. It is also written by Floyd Quintos and directed by Alexander Cortez. It was shown at UP Diliman in 2008 as part of the Zarzuela Festival organized by the UP College of Arts and Letters. We also have Cathy. It's about the life of vaudeville star Cathy de la Cruz. The music and the musical arrangements were done by Nonong Buencamino, and the play commissioned Ryan Cayabyab for the music, Jose Javier Reyes for the lyrics, and starred Mitch Valdez in the title role. We also have Noli Me Tangere. It is a 3-act opera composed by national artist Felipe Padilla de Leon with libretto by national artist Guillermo Tolentino. It actually premiered in the 1957 at the FEU Auditorium. And of course, we also have El Filibusterismo. It was written 4 years after the Noli Me Tangere. It was in 3 acts and written in Tagalog with libretto by Anthony Morley. It tells of the continuing struggle of the Filipinos to achieve freedom and emancipation from Spanish colonial rule. We also have Florante at Laura. It was presented in celebration of the 200th birth anniversary of the author Francisco Balagtas Baltazar. And of course, we have Daragang Magayon. It is based on a poem by Merlinda C. Bobis. It was produced by the CCP Women's Desk and the Coordinating Center for Dance to celebrate Women's Month. We also have Magsimula Ka. It is the story of young dreamers whose ambitions begin to fade in life's realities. They are part of the graduating class filled with hope but end up compromising their idealism for their own survival. Also, Magsimula Ka is by Jean Stan, staged at the CCP Main Theater from April 7 to 24, 1988. It is one of the longest running musicals at the CCP. And that's all for today's discussion, class. Those are the 20th to 21st century multimedia forms in the Philippines, namely the opera, the ballet, and the musical plays in the Philippines. And for your performance task for today's discussion, listen to these instructions. Work with 2 classmates to form a group of 3. Choose a part of an opera, ballet, or musical play to perform. Create or improvise appropriate sounds, music, gestures, movements, and costumes using media and technology for a select part of an opera, ballet, or musical play. You may use the internet as your reference. Submit your video to your teacher through Google Classroom. So that's all for today, and thank you so much for listening, grade 10 students. I hope that you have learned a lot about the 20th to 21st century multimedia forms of the Philippines. As I have said a while back, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for you to be updated of new uploaded videos. You like this video as well and share it to your friends so that they will also learn about this. And this has been Sir Lester saying, let's dream and make it happen. Thank you so much, and see you all on my next video. Goodbye, grade 10.